live. Bum 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 ram bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hi, everyone. Good evening, Monday night. Hi, Bob and Deb from Kentucky. Hi, Joe and friends. Hi, Diana from San Francisco. Lynn from Los Angeles. Hi, all. Wonderful to see everyone. Missouri and Maine and Australia and New Zealand. It's so good to see you all, my friends. It's Monday night. And this is what we do every single Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We do one thing and one thing only, and that is we talk about homeopathy. And I share with you what I know, what I've learned through the years, what I've learned even in the past weeks and months from studying further on this subject or that. And that is my point, is so that not only do you learn, but I learn as well, to be honest. You never stop learning. It's one of the great joys of life. So for those of you who don't know me, this is what we do. And for those who do, welcome, friends. Hi, Smiling Tree Branches from Mexico. Hi, Sandra from Texas. Good evening from South Dakota, says Laura R. And hi from Florida, says Esther. So great to see you. I love to see my old friends. Now, tonight we're going to be talking about headaches. And when we finish on live streaming here, then I'm going to take this over to Joette's Mighty Members and go a little bit deeper. Let me just tell you, my friends, we could go very deep when it comes to headaches. And I will tell you what I mean by that. I'm going to show you Robin Murphy's fourth edition of the repertory. And I'm going to show you that the headache chapter is an entire chapter all of itself. There's no other chapter like this that is just headaches. You might say female chapter, and then you're going to see uterus and ovaries and breasts, etc. But it's the only chapter that is like this, in which it's one particular condition, not just a location of the body. It is a specific condition, pain in the head. Here they all are. Here are many of the remedies. I hope you can see that. You can see that this book is not written in sentences. It doesn't discuss anything. It simply gives you the symptom or the type of headache it is and the homeopathic medicines that have been proven through double-blind studies over the last 200-something years, or has been shown clinically to be useful. We go from page 1203 all the way to, did I lose my place? I think it was something like 60, here we go, to page 1254. I don't know, do the math. Tell me how many pages that is. It's a lot of pages, and it's only what the symptoms are and the name of the specific kind of headache that it might be. So, for example, right here it says headaches alternating with complaints of, and then it goes into abdomen or hemorrhoids or pain in other parts. Or the next rubric is headaches with anemia, with heart disease, headaches with stem from an aneurysm, headaches after anger. There are so many different ways of describing a headache. It's so funny because a long time ago I had a teenage boy who had headaches, kind of unusual. And I said, so where is your headache? And he said, what do you mean? My head. Well, no. Could be above your forehead. It could be behind the eyes. It could be under the eyes. It could be at the temples. It could be the vertex. It could be the occiput. It could be behind the ears. And then it could be throbbing, stinging, pulsing, etc. And when somebody asks you for help with a headache, or if you suffer from headaches, we don't want a kerfuffle. We don't want a snafu. We don't even want a quagmire. We want something that we can slam dunk. Now, I have an entire course. If you go down to Joette's Learning Center, you will find that I have an entire course titled Pain, Make It Stop. It's an entire course on pain. All different kinds of pains, not just headaches. We do a lot of work on headaches. But I have to tell you, friends, because headaches can be so complex and so convoluted that it becomes almost a guessing game. But I want to try to tighten this up for you as much as I possibly can. And the way that I can do that is to not give you the repertory, because, I mean, certainly you should, if you're serious about homeopathy, you ought to own a repertory. Robin Murphy's 4th edition is what I consider the most valuable. There are other great repertories. I use them for years. 3rd edition, I saw somebody, I had 3rd edition, but it makes no sense on that page or near it. 4th edition must be radically different. Really, it's interesting. So if you look under head, and then it's almost the whole thing is headaches, you'll find. I have the 3rd edition. I've not compared the two. So, I'm working on a case of a young girl who has chronic headaches, and I've spent a lot of time trying to crack this case. I've helped her here. I've helped her there. When it's been a sinus headache for her, she calls it a migraine, but it's really sinus. And it's the barometric pressure change that's coming in. And she has the typical list of symptoms that are associated with a need to use Kali bicromium, Kali, K-A-L-I, bicromium, a total of 133 pages. Thank you, Noreen. That's how many pages there are in the headache section of the 4th edition. Actually, let me just say, Alice, I believe that the way Robin Murphy laid it out is differently. I think there are just as many or close to as many, but it's laid out differently in terms of chapters. So I use Kali bicromium 30C or 30X, and by all means, she's much improved. However, I have to say, it's not always a sinus headache. No kidding. As I said, we could have headaches aggravated by anger, headaches as if hit by a ball, headaches as if beaten, or that the heart is in the region of the headache beating, or headaches after apprehension or during apprehension. You see how in depth this whole subject can be. So, of course, I look to my repertory. Of course, I look to the Banerjee protocols, and they have some wonderful protocols. I've used them through the years. Migraine is one of them, is glenoinum 30 plus belladonna 30, if it's a migraine. Now, a lot of times, let me just say this, parenthetically. A lot of times, people call their headaches migraines because what they're thinking it is that a migraine is a very painful headache, and they indeed are. But migraine headaches are different than sinus headaches or temple headaches or nervous headaches or gastrointestinal headaches, etc. Migraine is different. So I often, for the longest time, I've used arnica and cuprum. Arnica montana and cuprum. It's a great combination. I've used arnica 3 and cuprum 6, and I use it every when the headache is extreme. And that's so with most of these medicines we're going to be talking about tonight. When the headache is extreme, I give the medicine, or I suggest that they take the medicine every 15 minutes for the first hour. And then sometimes at the end of that, the top of that hour, they check themselves. How are things doing? Is there any nausea? Is there vomiting? Then we go on to using it less frequently. Doesn't mean we know that it's completely gone. A lot of times we do know that by the end of that hour, after those 4 doses, that indeed it was the correct medicine, and we move on to, we open it up, taper it out, so to speak, and open it up to, instead of every 15 minutes, now we go perhaps every hour and see if that works. We're trying to find that tipping point. Okay, so we're always looking for an inkling that we're moving in the right direction. Now, what's an inkling? Well, an inkling can be, I still have the headache, but I'm not freaking as much. Or I still have the headache, but I no longer feel weak. Or I still have the headache, but I'm no longer vomiting. Or I still have the headache, but I don't know, it just doesn't bother me. It doesn't worry me as much. So Pounding headaches. I want you to always think pounding headaches, especially when it's pounding to the beat of the heart. It's often, my friends, belladonna. And when I think of belladonna, then I automatically think of the Banerjee protocol using picric acid and belladonna mixed together. So I'm going to go through a lot of these because there are a lot of different kinds of headaches. I'm going to ask you not to write in and ask me, what about this one or what about that one? Because we could be here all night because, as I said, there are many, many pages of headaches. So I'm not going to break it down that way. But I do urge you to consider, if you suffer from headaches, to go with, to get a hold of a repertory and or consider taking my course on pain. Let me also tell you another really great one. When calibicromium doesn't act for the sinus pain, often it's a sinus pain, and it's extraordinarily painful. In fact, I've talked about this. I've written about it on my blog. I think I've even talked about it on a podcast. Many years ago, living in Buffalo, New York, I had just learned about homeopathy. It was quite some time ago. And I learned that there is such a thing as a barometric pressure headache. And I knew that that's what I had. And I had for years taken a drug called 222 or 222. It had codeine in it. You couldn't buy it over the counter in the U.S. And because I lived in Buffalo, right near the border, I used to actually go over the border and buy this drug that you could buy over the counter in Canada. And I took it regularly. Not every day, but I took it anytime there was a barometric pressure change. Now, if anyone lives near the Great Lakes, you know what I mean when I say only during barometric pressure changes. My friends, the Great Lakes are all about barometric pressure changes. And so it happened frequently. Every time the pressure changed, the sky was clear or it was rainy and then moved to clear, or was clear and moved to rainy or cloudy, I was in severe pain. And at the time I was using essential oils. I was taking supplements and all of those, to be honest, superfluous methods. I'm not saying essential oils can't be helpful, but the supplements were really, I absolutely eschew to this day. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to treat myself. But I did have a kit. And I did read in one of my books that barometric pressure change pain, especially located either above the eyebrows, between the eyebrows, or starting on the left and moving to the right. I don't know if you got all of that, but that is the basic idea of calibicromium. With tenacious plasticine mucus, I did not have that, but I certainly had the pain, is calibicromium. And all I had was a 30 because that was the kit I owned. So I took calibicromium 30. Now, the first time I took it, nothing happened. Nothing happened at all because I didn't know enough to repeat it. So I just put up with the pain. By the time I started using homeopathy, I decided I was no longer going to be taking those codeine infused drug that I had been using. I'd stopped using it. I just was going to put up with it. I just drank a lot of water, put salt in my water, and hope for the best. And it often lasted for a couple of days until the barometric pressure change shifted. But then I continued reading, and I learned that you're supposed to repeat the homeopathic medicines. You don't use one dose. You repeat it. Did you hear that, my friends? Now, if I had taken one dose and it acted, there was no reason to repeat, right? Unless it came back again, then I would repeat it. But if you use homeopathic medicine and there's no change, are we just going to say, oh, well, give up? That's what I did. I didn't know any better. Next time, though, it came along, which was about a month later, I had read by that time that you're supposed to repeat it. So I did. I took a second dose. I think I may have taken, actually, I think I only took 2 doses that second time. And I don't remember how far apart they were. It was probably about an hour or so, maybe 2 hours. This was a long time ago, my friends. This was a good 35 years ago. And the headache went away. And I felt normal. I felt like myself absent the headache. Now remember, I'd been having these headaches for years, every time there was a barometric pressure change in Buffalo, New York area. That, my friends, was the last time I ever had one of those headaches. Last time I had any headache, for that matter. I just don't get headaches. It just doesn't happen anymore. So these medicines are not here to treat the pain. Big difference between that and the way conventional drugs work, because a lot of times people ask us, I get headaches. Can you help me with this? Can you give me a remedy for it? They're thinking, well, homeopathy is medicine, and the pharmaceutical drugs that I've been taking are considered medicines. I think that's a stretch. And you just take Advil. Just take aspirin, Tylenol, whatever. Just take something and it goes away. Well, yeah, it might take it away for a short period of time, but it comes back, and it usually comes back with a vengeance. And I believe that's what was happening to me. Every time I got one of those headaches and I took those codeine-drenched pills, I was making it worse and worse for myself. But I never had another headache again. So the idea here is to treat the condition and uproot it. Now, I'm not going to promise you that that's always what happens, but I am going to tell you, my friends, that it's often what happens. It's not every time. Don't expect this to be absolute magic, because it's not magic. It takes some intelligence. It takes you know what it is? It's information. You need the information. You have to be interested in learning this. It amazes me how many people are not. I don't know. I don't get it. Somebody else make a decision for me. I don't know. I'll just go to the doctor and get the drugs. Or I'll just go to the drugstore and get the Advil or whatever it is. Headaches, I have pages. I'm looking at pages and pages of my own notes on headaches. Look at this. These are all printed. This is all printed. It's all typed. This is another page, written, printed. That's how many sources we need in order to find out what the answer is for headaches. So let me tell you, more often than not, sick headaches can often be treated with Nux vomica. What's a sick headache? Well, nausea, right? Or stomach upset. And I will also tell you that another sick headache remedy is Ipecac. That could be. I'm looking down at my other information here, an old book that I just picked little bits and pieces from. Podophyllum. If there's diarrhea and a headache, I'm going to use podophyllum. Great medicine. Great medicine. Belladonna, I already said, for pulsating headaches. Pulsatilla is especially when the forehead is principally affected. But now, if it's barometric pressure change or it's moving from place to place, wait a minute. But it is moving from place to place. Pulsatilla headaches often move. It's here, then it moves here, then it moves here, then it's above here. Pulsatilla changes. In other words, the remedy that is pulsatilla is the choice of remedies for when we see there's a change in symptoms. Okay? I love arnica. Arnica is a great medicine for a sense of fullness. It feels thick and heavy and pressing, like there's something inside and it's pressing outwards. Kind of like, I don't know, vascular congestion. That's what arnica is so good for. Maybe it's a sense of congestion in the vascular system. And I know everybody's going to start asking me, what potencies? Well, if we have a protocol, we're going to follow the protocol exactly. Okay? Don't mess with protocols. A protocol means that someone has established this from clinical evidence over years, decades. You know, the Banerjee's protocol, Banerjee's example, they have done it for over a century. They've used these medicines for over a century. So their protocols are sharp, tidy, organized, clear, concise, with the potencies clearly marked and the frequencies clearly stated. Okay, that's very, very important. And it says, migraines used to be foretold by dancing black and white zigzag visual disturbances and other neurological disturbances. There are a different remedy for that part of the migraine cycle. I would not say that's not necessarily so, but it could be. It could be. One of the keys with using homeopathy for headaches, whether they're migraine or they're whatever they might be, is to try to head it off at the pass. The moment the person begins to feel the suffering. They might even have, say, ocular disturbances, not just like neurological, it's calling them neurological. What is the best resource for protocols? My friends, right here, my course. Well, and the Banerjee protocol book, the original Banerjee protocol written by the Banerjees. No supplemental information. I'm sorry. So what we want to do is use the protocol as it is written. If you don't have a protocol, then you can use a 30, a 200. Dorothy Shepard uses very high potencies, or she did for herself anyway. She used, I think it was a 10M of a medicine. I was just reading that in her book just this morning. And I think it was in the minimum dose. Magic of the Minimum Dose, Dorothy Shepard. So I'm sourcing many. I'm going to many books to see what I can do, what I can pull together for this young lady. So, if you don't have a potency, you don't have a protocol, use a 30, or use a 200. Yeah. And Cheryl says hire a homeopath, and you know how to do that. You go to Joette's. Find a practical homeopath. These are the people who have graduated from my academy and my mastery program. All right, let's see. Belladonna helps when the eyes have start like migraine. I think what she means is that the migraine is started in the eyes, and also they can be dilated. So belladonna is a great medicine for headaches, especially if there is any, as I said, throbbing. If there's redness around the eyes, or the eyes are bloodshot, if the pain is throbbing with, especially when it's associated with the heartbeat, that's often belladonna. Where can we find an original Banerjee Protocol book? Unfortunately, oh boy, I hate this question. Leslie, I'm so sorry. We're working on it. There are counterfeits out there, and I don't want to protect. I want to protect you, and I don't want to protect them. I'm working on something right now with one of the Banerjees to see if we can get this resolved. It is not a good thing. So unfortunately, all I can tell you is that I'm the one who's teaching this. So you can go to my, as I said, go to my course on pain. You can also, if you don't want to spend any money, and I totally understand, just go to Joette Calabre's YouTube and go right to my blog and look under headaches, because I've given a lot of information. Oh, here we go. Irene from Montreal says, here's the link for the practical homeopaths that have completed studies with Joette. Thank you very much, Irene. Would the remedy for barometric pain headache work for the same for barometric pain for ankle joint pain? Probably not. And I'll tell you why, Barb. It's a good question, because these medicines, not always, but are often related to the organ. They're organ specific. Now, belladonna just happens to be one of those medicines that if you have throbbing pain and it's red and hot and all of that, it works for just about any organ. And bryonia is another medicine I want you to consider for headaches. Bryonia 30 especially is valuable when it's worse from any movement at all. Person doesn't want to move. If they move their eyes. Just their eyes can cause more pain. All right, let's see what else we've got here in terms of questions. And because there's more that I can teach you, and I would love to give you more and more information. I will do the best I can tonight. Let me also say, aconitum is if the angles of the forehead with a sense of, if they're at the angles of the forehead and there's a sense of pinching. Aconitum, my friends. Aconitum is also a great medicine for headaches when the headache presented after a shock. It doesn't have to be extreme shock where the person is in shock, but a shocking situation. Or it comes on so quickly because of something that bad news, something that just occurred. All right, I'm being told I have new messages here. I've watched a lot of videos and read the blog, but haven't found a helpful remedy for an illness. We've spent so much. Well, I'm sorry. Probably giving up. Don't give up, Savannah, for goodness sakes. I mean, the amount of information that I put out there, not only for free, but even inexpensive gateway courses, gateway classes. Join a gateway class. Get some help from other people who are ahead of you.
Belladonna is magic for pounding headaches, says Carmen. My migraines used to be for... Okay, we already read that from Alice. Murphy's third, okay. Hire a homeopath, she says. Wow, look at all of this information. What can help with a headache that's coming on before it gets worse? Well, when I opened this, Batya, I said there's one medicine that often is a great start. Nux vomica is often that medicine, but also I'm going to tell you, particularly if somebody has had a lot of drugs, I often start with camphor. Camphora, Camphor 200. I can't tell you the number of times that I've opened a case for a chronic condition, and we use camphor just to open a case, and right after the camphor they say, "Oh my gosh, I feel so much better, especially those headaches." You're welcome, Nicole. What about headaches for children? Same thing, my friends. But let me also tell you, headaches for children it's the same group of medicines, but generally headaches for children, when they are especially school children, in other words, what I mean is that they get headaches around school, or they don't like school, or they're suffering in school, or they might like it, but they just can't handle it all. Kelk-Fas, my friends. Kelk-Fas, it's one of the best medicines for children. Whether it's a headache or growth or anything else, Kelk-Fas. And I would use that in a nice low potency. Yeah. Can air travel cause a barometric pressure headache? Yes, it can definitely linger, Francine. And can it cause a barometric pressure headache? Yes, I believe it can. But I think let me also remind you of this, my friends. It sounds too easy to be of any use. Make sure you're hydrated. And don't just drink water. Put salt in it. Always put salt in your water because you're perspiring. Well, at least that's the way I think because I live in Florida. But I have to tell you that dehydration can cause a myriad of conditions, specifically headaches. Yes, headaches. And so if you get a headache again 3 days later after you drank the water, it just means you're just not drinking enough. We've successfully used glenoinum 30 quite often lately for headaches from the heat. Yes, when head pain pulses with the heart, works beautifully. Glenoinum for heat headaches. Glenoinum for hot flashes and headaches when both of them are happening. Or they don't even have to happen at the same moment. The person could be suffering from hot flashes in the middle of the night, but then she gets headaches at other times. Glenoinum. Love it. Picric acidum, says Pat. How about in the middle of the night only, early morning, not throbbing, but feels like nail is in my head, side of the head, deep massage helps, etc. on a regular basis. I also have to say, when anything happens on a regular basis, I want you to question something really big. What you're eating. Plant matter. Plants often cause problems. Not in everyone, but in a lot of people, they cannot tolerate plants. Do you know what I mean when I say plants? I mean broccoli, kale, spinach, potatoes, plants. Yes, blueberries. Try eliminating them, or try eliminating dairy. Hate to see you eliminate dairy, but because I do think that there's a lot of good dairy out there, but a lot of people are very sensitive to it. So if it happens on a regular basis, try elimination diet. What's the elimination diet? One of the best elimination diets is the carnivore diet. And it doesn't mean you stay on it forever. I'm not saying that. But you want to find out what's really causing trouble? Stay away from all plants for 3 months. And eat just meats. Yes. Just those animals that eat grass. So try that, and then now add back the foods that you love or that you would like to eat one at a time, and see if any of those, and see if the headaches are diminished greatly or gone. You might be very, very surprised. How can I think homeopathically about migraines that come on every time from talking on the phone to insurance? Carrie, you're funny. Fire that insurance company. Migraine with menses. How about okay? Let's see what else we've got here. So migraine with menses. Let's get some people to type in migraine with menses, okay? Because it's I've talked about this remedy so many times, And I realize that you probably don't know because you haven't been here, Carrie, but let me tell you, migraine or any headache that's related to menses. Let's see what everybody's going to say. And fat, yes, you want fat. You want animal fats. Keep a food log, says Harry. You bet. Thank you, Karen, Sepia, Melissa, Sepia, Rachel, Sepia, Vicky, Sepia, Kristen, Pulley in Japan. Yep, Sepia. Yes, my friends. Migraines associated with, or any kind of headache associated with menses is sepia. I've written about it. Look it up. See what you can find on my blog. I've written about it many, many times. Tracy from Missouri, Kelly, sepia, Tracy. Yes, Irene from Montreal, sepia. Pamela says picric acid and belladonna. And I would not say that that's the number one, but it is a very close second, Pamela, to include picric acid and belladonna. You bet. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it is now 8:30 Eastern time, and I am going to move on to Joe It's Mighty members, and I'm going to give you a little more information that I'm hoping is going to really tighten this all up for you because I've given you many ideas here. I don't want you to be confused. It's very important that you can zero in as quickly as possible for a friend, a relative, or yourself. So I'll see you on the other side, my mighties, and I'll say goodnight to everyone else.